Today, I'm going to show you how to do this Alpine mountain landscape. Alrighty, so the tools we'll be using today are the 2-inch brush, the 1-inch brush, fan brush. I'm using the larger one. I find it easier to work with. And I have the smaller painting knife, the number 5 one. You can use the bigger one if you prefer, just depends on which one you like. And then also, for the paints, I'm using Bob Ross oil paints, but any oil paint, as long as it's thick, will work. So you can also use like Gamblin or Winsor Newton. And I like to arrange my paints in kind of in the order I'm going to use them. So for example, working on the sky and then the midground, the foreground, and the highlights at the end. But you can arrange them however you wish, whatever works best for you. So the paints I have today, I have Prussian blue, and I have, this is called Mountain Mix. So this is exclusive to Bob Ross. So when Bob says like, oh, just mix all the dark colors together, it doesn't matter as long as it's dark. So that's what this is. It's basically a mix of Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, midnight black, alizarin crimson, sap green. So it's all the dark colors mixed together. So so you use it for a mountain base, use it for your base for trees and grass. And then we also have, we got our Van Dyke brown, we got our sap green, and then we have yellow ochre, and then we have cad yellow. It's still a little separating a little bit. You see the oil coming out. And then I like to keep my, my white over here kind of by itself, so it's not like mixing, getting contaminated with the other colors. Alrighty, so first things first, I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas. Bob used 18 by 24, but you can use whatever you want. You can even use a square canvas or super long one. Totally up to you, And since it is a white canvas, this is already covered with multiple coats of gesso. You can buy them that way, or even when I buy pre-gessoed canvases, I like to put like an extra coat or two of gesso on. But just make sure that's dry. You want the gesso to be completely dry. And then what we're going to do, since it's a white canvas, we're going to put on liquid white. So the liquid white just makes it nice and slick, and that way we can blend paint directly onto the canvas. So you can go in with just your Prussian blue and white. You can do that, but it's easier just to kind of prep it with the liquid white. So we're going to do that. I got my jar right here. So I'm going to use the 2-inch brush for that. I'm just going to dip it in. And a little more. That's good for now. So just a little bit, so it kind of goes down maybe 1/2 centimeter. And then what I like to do to make sure we have an even distribution of the liquid white, I kind of like to just kind of tap all over. And then I'll go in and do my big old X strokes, little crisscrosses. Now this is the messiest part, so beware. Anything around you will get sprinkles of liquid white on it. So it's always good to have baby wipes, not the Clorox wipes or anything with bleach in it, but the baby wipes, the gentle stuff with just the baby oil in it. That's what you want. You want to use that to clean off your hands. As you can see that I have the sprinkles all over me right there. So yep, you just want to use that for your skin there. And you can clean your palette off with that as well. But for cleaning off the brushes, you're going to use a paper towel. Just go in, make sure that's all nice and spread out. And then I'll do up and down, left and right. Just make sure it's nice and even. And then what you can do to make sure you have just the right amount, because you want basically the smallest amount you can get away with. Just take your fingers and just kind of tap around there. And that one's a little, I think that was, yeah. But basically, when you do that, you want to be able to still see your fingerprint. If you can't see your fingerprint and all you see is just a glob of white, then you have too much. If you have too much, just use a paper towel, put it on, just crisscross. Just crisscross it off like that. It'll soak it into the paper towel. But we have enough. It's a little thinner over here, but that's okay. It's better to be thinner with a liquid white than thicker. If your liquid white is too thick, it's going to make it more difficult to put more layers on. So if you start out thin with thin layers, then it's easier to go from thin to thick. It's especially gonna help you with your mountains. If you're having trouble with the mountain breaking, that could be the reason why. You could have too much liquid white. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and clean off my brush. So this is basically all we're gonna do to clean off our brushes for now. I generally don't clean them off with paint thinner until I'm completely done, because especially these huge brushes, they hold in so much of the paint thinner. If you clean this with paint thinner now, you're gonna get paint thinner in your painting, and that's difficult to work with. So best not to. Just clean it off with a paper towel. It's so much easier. Alrighty, so we've got the liquid white on. So now we're going to work on our sky. So we're going to go into a little Prussian blue. Now, because we already have the liquid white on there, like I said, this Prussian blue is going to blend right into that liquid white. So I don't need much of the Prussian blue. So I'm just going to take the corner of my 2-inch brush and just going to dab it into a little bit of that Prussian blue. Less is better. You can always go in for more and make it darker, but it's kind of hard to do the reverse. All right. Oh, also, you saw I was tapping it like that. So tapping it gives it a nice even distribution. So you don't want any globs in there. All right, and what I like to do, I kind of like to start from the corners, because you want like the corners of your paintings to be darker, so it kind of draws the viewer's eye in. So I'm going to crisscross, starting with the corners like that, and then I'll go around across the top, and then I'm just going to crisscross here and there. Not worried too much. Now see, I'm going to wipe off my brush here. And now that we have the color on there, we're going to go in with our wiped off brush and we're just going to blend. So again, just the same crisscross strokes. And now we're just blending. Let's see, we're blending right as that canvas, so that white that's already there, you're just blending the blue into the white. So you can blend it as much as you want. You can keep it kind of streaky and painterly if you want. Or completely blended. And notice how it's kind of blending into the white here where the horizon line is. Just naturally. It's exactly what you want. And you can kind of see as you're doing that, you're picking up the white. Now with this brush kind of white and blue in there, I'm just going to put a little bit of that color onto the bottom. We're not going to have water, but you can just act like, you know, kind of pretend there is going to be. So I just go from the corner and just kind of sweep towards the middle there. Kind of meet the horizon line there. But like I said, this doesn't matter too much because we're going to have grass down here. We're going to go over this with the mountain mix anyway. So this is just to kind of give a little blue hue behind like the bushes that we're going to put down there later. So I'm wiping my brush off again. And I'm just going to go back in with that brush and just kind of go back and forth. Just blend it up a little bit. All right. I have to be careful every time I scratch my face. I might be getting paint on. That's all right. All right. Again, just wipe that off. But you can see how the sky has kind of like mottled. So it's not one solid color there. And that's what we want. I think I'm going to go back in and just blend out the corners just a tad bit more. Yeah, that's good. All right. And I'll just wipe off my brush one more time here. All right. So next thing is going to be the clouds. And I'm going to use, I like using the 1-inch brush for like big fluffy type clouds. So I'm going to use the 1-inch brush. I'm going to use the bottom corner and I'm just going to tap into some of that titanium white. And again, just using the bottom corner. So I'm holding the brush vertically like that and just tapping with the bottom corner of my brush. And what I'm doing is forming kind of like the tops of the clouds, and then the bottoms are going to be blending into the sky. So I'll show you what I mean here. And you can kind of look at your sky and see like the more whitish spots, and you can kind of make your clouds according to that, or not. Just put them wherever you want. So see how I'm kind of just tapping there. But see, like, the thing is, when you're doing clouds, your brush is going to get contaminated very quickly. Oh, focus, there we go. So as it becomes contaminated with the blue, yeah, tap the bottom into the blue there. Kind of fade it out. So you're going to wipe off your brush constantly doing this. So I'm gonna tap in a little more. I'm gonna do another little layer here. And I'm gonna tap the tops of these just a little bit, just to get the softness there. There we go. Tap to get a little more white there. And I'm gonna just do another little layer over here. But see how the bottom of the cloud is just blending right into the blue there. That's what I want to see. It took me a long time to get clouds, so don't fret if the clouds are giving you trouble. It was the clouds, the highlights on the mountains, and the highlights on the bushes that gave me trouble at first. So don't fret, just keep practicing. And one thing you'll notice as you're doing the clouds, which is very consistent with oil paint and this method, is the more you tap, the more you blend in, the more it goes away. So, so you'll probably at first you'll blend your clouds right away, and that's okay. You can just put them back in. And there's a bunch of different ways to do clouds too. This is just one way. I think my favorite way is with the fan brush. So, and you'll find a favorite way, or maybe you'll have multiple favorites. I think I'm going to go in just a little bit more, just right here, just to kind of have that overlapping that cloud just a little bit. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. All right. So again, just wiping off the 1-inch brush with my paper towel here. So I just kind of put it in my hand and just kind of twirl around, and then also use my thumb to kind of flick like that to get as much off as I can there. All right, so we've got our sky and our clouds. So next we want to do the mountain. So just to make things nice and simple, I'm going to go in with the mountain mix, the literal mountain mix. So like I said, I'm using the smaller knife. I prefer it maybe because I'm 5'1" and I'm tiny and I have a tiny hand. I don't know, but you use whichever knife you prefer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the color and just kind of flatten it, kind of smash it out like that and drag it. And then to load it, I'm going to hold the blade perpendicular to the palette here. And we're just going to just swipe across there so we get our little roll of paint. Hopefully you can see that. It's kind of dark, but your little roll. All right, so now we're creating the base of our mountain. So once again, it's easier to start smaller and make your mountain bigger than to start off with a gigantic mountain and then can't really make it smaller from that point. So what I like to do when I'm creating my mountain, I kind of like start from here and I kind of jiggle it up a little bit, like kind of like that. And then, like I said, if I want to make it bigger, I can. And then I'm scraping off while I'm putting it on. So I just grabbed another roll of paint here. I'm going to make another little peak there. Get another roll of paint off. You'll see how I'm like reshaping, reforming as we're going here. I have a habit of making my peaks too pointy, so I always have to watch out for that. So basically you want the edges kind of crispy. And then the middle, we're just filling in with color. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this point. Grab a little more of that color. I don't need to drag that quite to the end because that's the next step is I'm going to take a brush and then drag the color that's in to the edges. Just reshape this one here. And I'm just going to grab a little more paint just to kind of fill in this area here. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. So I will go ahead and wipe off my knife. But still, I still have all this area here. I have this little white strip here that I left for the mist. And I'm gonna go in with, you can either use your 2-inch brush, 1-inch brush, whichever. But so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paint and kind of just kind of spread it around, spread it down to kind of fill in that mountain base. Now you want to kind of hold it like this where the handle's pointing towards the ground because you want to keep your edges up here nice and crispy. So that's why I'm going like this and like, oh, not quite reaching the top there. If you do mess up your tops, then just go back in and reform them with a knife. It's not that big of a deal. And it's all going to get covered up by highlights and shadow anyway, so not a biggie. So I'm taking this mountain base and kind of spreading it about to where that white strip is that I left. And I'm spreading this all the way to the edge of the canvas there. And of course you can see that it's getting lighter and lighter because again, we're mixing this in with the liquid white that's already there. So what I'm going to do there, I'll pull a little more. I'm just going to wipe off my 2-inch brush there. And then I'm going to go back in with that wiped off brush. And then I'm just going to crisscross along that edge where that white is and see how it's just blending it. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. All right. And again, just wiping off the brush there. And now we're going to highlight our mountains. So I'm just going to use straight white. If your white is contaminated with a little bit of blue or brown or mountain mix or whatever, it's fine. Doesn't matter. All right. And again, I'm going to use my small knife here. And phew, I'm just going to go right into this white here. So I'm going to do the same thing I did up here. I'm just going to drag this out and make a little landing strip there. Load it the same way. Go in perpendicular and just cut off. Well, that's a big roll of paint. That might be a little too big. I don't know. Let's redo it there. That's a little better. I want kind of like a wet spaghetti. What I like to do, and maybe it's because I'm right-handed, I don't know, I like to go from the right to the left with my highlights. So the right side of the crest is going to be highlighted, but if you're left-handed, it might be easier for you to go to left to the right. You'll figure out a way. All right, so I'm going to start with this one over here. So you see how the long end of the knife is there? So it kind of matches up with that long end of the mountain. So what we're going to do, this is kind of floating right now, we're going to, and then the paint is going to lock on to the canvas. And when that happens, then you don't have to use any pressure. You're not scraping it on, you're guiding it. You're floating that paint on. The best way I can say to do this is act like you're frosting a cupcake or shaving. Like when you're shaving with like a brand new blade, like you don't want to use any pressure at all. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I'm going to go up here. I'm kind of bracing my arm. I have a very shaky hand, so it's good for some things, but not other things. So I'm going to line it up here, and you'll see like my hand will stop shaking once it like locks onto the canvas here. Boop, there it goes. And then we're just swinging it. So see how the like corner there is like following along with the edge of the mountain, and I'm just swinging it so that that edge stays with the edge of the mountain. So you had to go back there. It skipped a little bit. There we go. All right. Now see, it's a little contaminated because we are, there we go. We're picking up what's already on the canvas. So just wipe that off. We can use that later for the shadow color. So I'm going to go in and grab another spaghetti roll. Now this one's kind of two crests. So I'm going to go up to this one here. And then same thing. So I'm not using any pressure. See how I'm using like 3 fingers here. Pinky up. Pinky up. There you go. Wipe it off. Grab another roll. Now I grabbed a bigger roll, like a fettuccine size for this one because this is the main one here. This is the main crest. So I'm going to go up right here. Whoop. I was going so light it didn't even come off. And that's good. That's good. That means you're doing it light enough. There it goes. Get it to grab on. If you miss a spot, just go back in. And see, I'm kind of like thinking like, ooh, yeah, kind of like this. You can kind of curve it up into the shadow that's going to be on that side. That's kind of cool. Wipe off that excess, go back in, get your new roll of paint. And then you can even kind of, you can do like a little like S-curve thing here. Make new crests to work with as you go. But see how I'm going so lightly. Sometimes I have to go over a couple times because it's so light. Reload. So we got our new little crest form in here. And then we'll drag that down. And again, the white will just naturally kind of blend in with the base color that you've already put on. And then for these guys, it's just such a small portion that I'm doing the highlight on. I'm actually going to use the small part of the knife right here. So, small part of the knife, just gonna grab just a tiny bit of paint on there. Just swipe across like before. And see, there's a tiny bit there. But again, it's just a tiny little thing there. And same thing, just kind of just smooth it on. Get a little bit in that last one. Ooh, you can even make this one come in front of this one. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Have that crest come down a little bit more. Yeah, see, this one will be in front of this one now. Uh-huh. All right, that's pretty neat. So now we have to work on the shadow. So every peak has its highlight, and now it's going to have its shadow. So for the shadow color, I'm basically going to use, I have like, this is the extra that I was wiping off there. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that, grab a little bit of the mountain mix. You could just use that as a shadow color. I'm going to put a little bit of the Prussian blue in there though. There we go. I think that should look pretty good there. You want to keep it kind of marbledy like that. And then same thing as before, just go in and kind of swipe across like that. Now, since we're working on this side, we have this side loaded, we're going to go up to the middle and we're just going to drag off to the side there. So we're going to go up to the middle. This one's going to kind of meet up with that one. You can grab some of that white that's there too if you want. I think it's a little dark. I'm going to put a little more white in there. Just because that highlight is so white. There we go. I'll put a little blue in there too. Let me just have this little bit here. Just drag that a little bit. Okay. Let's move on over to this side. Since these, I'm going to do these sides real quick because they're so small. So again, I'll just use just that little portion. I'll put a little more white in there. There we go. Let's cut off a little bit on the small end of the knife there. And same thing, just start from the middle and drag. And like I said, the mountain highlights and shadows, that's one of the most difficult things for everybody. So it's, you know, that's just going to require practice for sure. So don't fret. Don't fret if you don't get the mountain highlights right away. That part is tough for everybody. Even if you look at Bob's early work, like the stuff he did in Alaska, his mountain breaks aren't anything like the later stuff he did on the show. So his style definitely evolved. Go into this one here. And he passed his discoveries on to us. So now we got this big area here. Now it starts off with a little area, so I'll start off with just a little bit of highlight on the small part of the knife there. Yeah, you know what, I'll go with the small part of the knife for the rest of it too. Why not? And yes, sometimes the sounds do help. And sometimes I'll intentionally leave little dark areas like that to show the difference in all the peaks and everything. This is a bigger peak and it's closer. I'm going to use the bigger part of the knife there. So again, just slicing off. Nice spaghetti size roll there. Yes. Wipe off a little excess up there. And you can see how the knife is like almost laying flat against the canvas there. So much so that sometimes my nails scrape on the bottom, and that's okay. It means you're holding it right. Or if the knife falls, yeah, that means you're holding it loosely enough. That's a good thing. Let's get a little more white in here now that the highlight is, the highlight and shadow, this crest is closer to us and it's more near the horizon. It's getting a little lighter here, so I put a little more white. That shadow color there. Okay. I think that's pretty good right there. Let's take a step back and kind of see where we are. Maybe a tad more up here. Ooh. tad turned into a bunch. That's okay. If you're ever just 100% unhappy with your mountain, you can always scrape it off and do it again. Not a biggie. Not a biggie. You can just scrape all this off, and that will now become your new mountain base. Yeah, I did that at certification. Nothing wrong in that. Okay, I think I like that better now. Okay, still leaving that little dark spot there to kind of show the difference there. And then I think it's gonna go in a little more white. I'm just gonna bring this crest out just a little bit more. Just a little bit. But take your time in the mountains for sure. You don't have to go as fast as Bob goes. You don't have to go as fast as I go. You know, that's why I do these tutorials. They're usually about like an hour to 2 hours, depending on how complex and everything. So, but yeah, definitely take your time. You know, Bob painted those paintings that you see on TV, but what you didn't see are the like 6 paintings that he did before that one, trying to get it down to 26 minutes. So always keep that in mind. That's what you don't see, is all the practice. Okay, so I am pretty good with my mountain there. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put in some like background trees there. We call them crash down trees. So for this, now I am going to bring out my big knife. I like to use the big knife for mixing, and then the small knife for actual painting. So what we're going to do, I'm going to mix up that mountain mix color, the shadow color that we have here. I'm going to take that, some Van Dyke brown, some green, a little bit more mountain, a little more blue. And it just depends if you want this more to the blue side or to the green side. I want it a little more to the blue side, so I'm going to add more Prussian blue. Making things in the distance more bluish is a thing that Da Vinci did called atmospheric perspective. I'm going to add a little bit of white to that too. Just before I do that, I'm going to wipe off that knife, because this is still, again, in the distance, so I want it to be a little hazy. So let's throw in a little bit of white. So for mixing, I'm just picking it up, throwing it down. That's pretty. I love the mix of Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, and sap green. It makes such a cool color. And this has that, and then a little bit of a mountain mix in it too. I think I like that. Yeah, it's a neat color. Okay. So I'm going to wipe off my knife here. And now we're going to use our fan brush. We haven't used that yet. All right. So the way we're going to load the fan brush is we're going to take it and we're going to wiggle it into this color here. And then just kind of drag both sides So basically you want a decent amount of paint here. You want to chisel the edge of your fan brush like that. Ooh, it's a little thunder there. I live in Florida, so you know. Thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon, summertime, yep. All right, so for the crash down trees, what you do is you're gonna take the top corner of the brush and you're gonna crash it down, like so. So we're gonna start right about here. And if your color is blending in too much with the mountain base, stop and adjust it. Either make it darker or lighter, or put more green in it. That's okay, I don't mind the storm, a little ASMR. Switch to the other side there. Just make sure you fill in where they kind of come together at the bottom there. And you're gonna have to reload frequently, like I said, so. You can also do this with the 1-inch brush. You just have to use a lot of paint in order to get that chiseled edge. But you see how some parts are darker than others, but that's good. You want that variety. So you want it to look like some trees are closer, some are further away. Reload here. And put some variety in there too. Make some taller, some shorter, some skinnier, some thicker. And I'm just going to go all the way to the end because I don't know where my bigger trees are going to live yet. So it's always better to have something in there and not need it than to not put it in there and wish you had. There's nothing worse than leaving a blank space and then, you know, putting a tree in later and realizing there's this blank space behind it and it's like, eh. So it's always better to have it and cover it up than, you know, not have it and wish you did. I'm just extending these trees here. Just make sure they don't look like fence posts. Make sure they're all connected at the base of the trees because that's where the trees are going to be thickest. And if you want water in this painting, this is a perfect opportunity to take the bottom of these trees, and all you would have to do is take your 2-inch or 1-inch brush, just drag that overage down, and then you have reflections. So we're not going to do that in this particular painting, but you can do that if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my fan brush here. And then what I'm going to do, since like I said, we don't have water here, we have some grass down here. I'm just going to take my 2-inch brush. Or you can take the 1-inch, doesn't matter. We're just going to blend in this bottom portion and just make it nice and misty. So I'm just going to take the bottom corner of my 2-inch brush and just tap. Just tap. And that tapping is just blending it. That's all. This would be really cool as a winter scene too. and really tap it. Really get in there. Give it heck. The canvas will bounce back like a drum. And if your canvas doesn't bounce back like a drum, your canvas might be a little slack. If you find that your canvas is kind of slack, it doesn't bounce back like that, what you can always do, like when you're done with the painting or before you begin a painting, if you notice it's kind of slack like that, you can flip it over and spray the back of the canvas with water. Just water. I just have like a little spray bottle filled with water. And so you do that and you let it dry, and it will shrink it up, and it'll tighten up the canvas for you. I've also seen people paint the back of the canvas with gesso. I've never tried that, but the water trick works just fine for me. Okay, I am liking that. And again, just wiping off the brush in between what we're doing. Got some green on me, so wipe with my baby wipes here. Do a little cleanup. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and start putting in some closer evergreen trees. So I'm going to change up the color a little bit too. So I'm going to start with this as like a base, and then I'm going to add a little more mountain mix, a little more sap green. Might throw some Van Dyke brown in there too. Put a little more of that color in. Just kind of bring it all together. Yeah, a little more brown. Ooh. That's a nice crack there. A little more white. A little white just because these trees aren't the closest to us, so I don't want the base to be the darkest yet. Save that for the closer trees. Oh, that's pretty. That's a nice pine tree color there. And I'll take some of this and I'll put some of this in there too, so that way I'll have two different colors to work from there. It's just slightly different. That's good. Okay. Alrighty. Just gonna wipe off that knife. We're going to go back to the fan brush again here. We're going to load it the same way. Let's see, I'm going to do this color first. Just wiggle it and drag it both sides. Nice chiseled edge there. Okay. And let's see. Let's do a tree like, let's start one right here. So when you're starting your evergreen trees, kind of like how you start these ones with a little crash down using just the top corner of the fan brush and holding it vertically like that. So you want to start them off like that and just tap in a little line. And then I'm going to go back and resharpen because I lost my edge there. You can see the color's just slightly different from that color, which is good. So now to fill in the rest of the tree, you're going to go ahead and take your fan brush, hold it horizontally now, like that. And then you want to use just the corner of your fan brush. So you're gonna take your brush and you're gonna tilt it that way, so you're just using the corner. And if you have your brush handle pointed towards the ground, your branches are gonna hang like this. If you have it pointed upwards, they're gonna go upwards. So whichever you prefer. I prefer the ones hanging down, so I'm gonna do that. But you just wanna start off just with the corner. I usually leave a little bit at the top there. Let me reload. So I tap a little bit to the side, go back towards the middle, fill back up, reload because I'm losing my edge. I go out a little bit, go back in. Sometimes I start them out skimpy like this and then go back in and fill them out. Make them thick. Reload, reload. And I'm just gonna kind of continue like right about where this white area is. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We're going to put some ground down here, so I'm not too worried about that area. It kind of does look like snowy, doesn't it? It kind of does. It kind of does. All right, I'm going to, let's see. Let's give this one a friend. Let's go into this color. Ooh, too much paint. There we go. Change the color, change the flavor a little bit. I'm gonna give him a friend right here. And again, you don't have to put your trees exactly where I'm putting them. Your painting's gonna look different, so yours might not look good if you're putting the tree exactly where mine is. And you might be using a different size canvas too, so you have to think about all those variations and all those variables. That's right, we're mathing. Happy trees are my favorite part. Reload, reload. See, I go back and thicken them up in the middle a little bit. I love the texture. I love the texture in these. Okay, let's do another one of those over here in that same color. And again, you can use whatever color you want. You can do purple trees, red trees. You can make this a fall scene, do some like yellow ochre and sienna trees. That's what I love to do. I love to take paintings and put them in different seasons, usually fall. Because fall is my favorite. I'll put one right here. I'm gonna make them kind of smallish. And that's the other thing too, with the trees, just like the mountain, it's easier to start small, and then you can always make your tree bigger if you want. But kind of hard to do the other way. Kind of left a couple spaces in there. You can leave can leave those if you want. That's what Bob would say, like, oh, a bear came and stepped on him when he was young. Oh, I love those stories. I love this like pine color though. It came out really cool. I'm gonna go a little further on this one, that tree. Okay, I think that's good because I think I'm gonna have the land go up a little bit there. So I am going to put that brush aside for just a minute there. Now, one other little thing I'm going to do with this, back to this color here, I am going to tap the top corner of my 1-inch brush, holding it vertically like that. Just a little bit of color, not too much. I'm gonna make some distant bushes there. So I'm gonna start from like the base of the bush and kind of make it grow like that. But you want the base of the bush to be darker anyway, just like the base of the tree. So that's gonna be darker because it's gonna be thicker and fuller. You can do this with a 1-inch brush or the 2-inch, doesn't matter. You're just using the top corner of it, so it's not a big deal. Now, since I have my 1-inch brush out, well, I'll go ahead and highlight those first. So, ooh, that's a nice crack there. Hopefully we don't lose power. If you see a weird cut, that will be why. All right, I'm going to wipe this brush out real quick. And before I highlight these bushes, I'm just going to take my knife and I'm just going to scratch out a couple little sticks and twigs. Now, I like to turn my knife to the side like this to have thicker veins that you can see. But if you do it vertically, you get thinner ones. So play around, see what you like. All right. So for highlighting these, what I'm gonna do, let's see. I think I'm just gonna use a little bit of yellow ochre. Now again, just using the top corner of my brush here. I don't want this to be super highlighted because it's still a little tucked away in there. So I'm just gonna tap the top corner of the brush there, but you see that texture that's forming. That's what you want to see, that nice spongy texture. And then see it's just loaded just at the top there. And I'm going to go in, and now highlighting, you want to do reverse. You want to start at the top and work down towards the base. So I'm going to doop doop doop. So think about like rock around the clock. So 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, so on and so forth. But you see how it's naturally getting darker towards the base, and you want that. So I'm going to switch the color just a little bit. I still have a little bit of that yellow ochre on here. I'm just going to put a little bit of cad yellow in there just to switch it up. And same thing, just pew, pew. Oh, a little more cad yellow. You might have to reload like that, and that's okay. Okay, that's good. Nice and kind of like muted back there. So I'm gonna wipe that brush off. And then I'm gonna switch back to my 2-inch brush here. And I'm gonna put in some land. So this is just gonna be the dark base here. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this Van Dyke, a little bit of this mountain mix there, just brush mix. I just want it a little darker than this. There we go. Just tap it. All right. Like I said, I kind of want this to be a little lower, this to be a little higher. So I'm gonna kind of start here and so I'm holding it horizontally like this and just kind of tapping it down here. Now I'm tapping upwards. This is where Bob says you're creating the lay of the land. I'll go ahead, since we're already there, I'll go ahead and fill out the rest. So since, this bottom part's going to be darker, or closer to us, it's going to be darker. So I'm going to put a little more of that mountain mix in. So I'm just going to just grab that, tap that in, like that. And just going to tap and fill the rest in. So see, it's a little darker because it's closer to us there. Again, you don't have to be gentle. All right. Let's tap a little on the side there. Okay. Cool deal. So that's good there. I'm just going to go ahead and take that brush, wipe it off. I don't know if I'm going to use this one again or not. Probably not. That also helps when you're cleaning them in the paint thinner. When you wipe off as much paint as you possibly can with the paper towel, then less of that paint is going to get into the paint thinner, so your paint thinner can go further. I have a short video that explains how you can reuse your paint thinner. Basically what you do is you let your paint thinner sit, and all of the sediment, all of the paint settles to the bottom. It just takes like a day or a couple days. I let it sit for a couple days, sometimes more. And then you pour out the separated paint thinner that's relatively clean and clear. Just pour that into a different container and reuse it. And then the sludge, or like we like to call it, the sludge that remains, that you can throw directly into the trash. So no worries, because it's solid enough. It's just like, throwing oil paint away in the trash. You can do that. Just don't put your thinner down the drain or in the trash. Don't do that. Okay. Since these trees are a little further away, I don't think I'm going to highlight them. I think I'm just going to highlight the bigger trees that are in front of them. So what I'm going to do real quick before I put in these last bigger trees, let's see here. I'm also going to go back in. I realize now that, see, my tree isn't going to cover that part up, so I'm just going to go back with a brush and just kind of tap that in there. Same over here. Just tap that and blend it. There we go. All right, so before I put in these big trees, I'm going to put a little bit of grass here first. So for that, you can use the 1-inch brush, 2-inch brush, doesn't really matter. But what we want to do is get a nice grass color. I think I'm going to use this base, my leftover cad yellow here that kind of contaminated with the yellow ochre. So it's got a couple different colors in it. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Now do I want that for the grass or do I want that for the trees? I think I'm going to use it for the grass. I'll use it for the grass. All right, so I'll go in with the 1-inch brush here. I'm going to hold it horizontally and angle that handle towards the ground there. You just want to tap just the edge of that brush. Okay. Now let's see if this is too dark or too light. Shouldn't be too light. So I'm going to start here and we're going to tap along the way the land is flowing. So I'm going to not showing up too strong. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of paint thinner, just like I just dabbed just my corner into some paint thinner. I'm going to mix that into that color and that'll make it stick better. Okay, now let's try again. There we go. Just nice and soft there. Change up the color just a little bit and put some of that other green in there. Okay, let's do a little bit more. Let's throw a little more, just tap a little bit more of the yellows in here. Okay. Let's change the flavor just a tad. It's getting, we're at the bottom of the canvas, so I'm shrinking. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see how I'm leaving like a dark line in between my lines of grass there. Okay, let's do a little more from the other side. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and put in my bigger trees. Well, let's put a little more grass in here. There. So then these trees are going to be a little bigger, a little taller, and they're going to end like down here because they're closer to us as well. So I'll wipe off 1-inch brush there. And let's go back to our fan brush. I didn't clean it off, so it's still got some gunk in there, but that's okay, because I want just a darker version of that color basically. So I'm going to use the remnants here. I'll use this too. Just bring it all together and use the rest of the mountain mix. See, it's still got that green tint to it. I like that. It's kind of like a blackish green. That's neat. That's neat. So that's good. I have a nice big pile there. If you ever have leftover oil paint, don't throw it away. Throw it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer. You can use it another day. It only takes like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to thaw. But it can, depending on the paint, depending on the color, you can save it up to months. The Van Dyke Brown, I find, doesn't save very well. So like the thicker, drier colors, yeah, the darker colors, they don't save as well. But your greens, your blues, those will last a while. Okay. Yeah, I'll wipe out what's in there. Boop. Wipe off my finger too. Excuse me. All right, so back to our fan brush there. It's getting pretty colorful. And then, same thing as before, wiggle it in. Drag both sides of the paint, get it nice and chiseled. And just like before, except these trees are gonna be big. So we gotta decide, where are they gonna live? Where are they gonna live? Because it's gonna cover up a lot of this. Oh, it's gonna cover up it's gonna cover up the bush. It's gonna cover that nice bush there. I'll try to make them skinny so they don't cover up so much. Let's see, I'm gonna put them like right here. Again, like I said, you can always start off like, and then if you want to make them bigger later, you can. Not a biggie. Excuse me again. All right, same thing as before. Just use the corner of your brush. Leave a little bit, like an inch for these ones, because these ones are big. Reload. Oh, sorry, tree, you were gonna get covered. Sorry. Reload. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Better to have it and, maybe end up covering it up, but then, better that than to not cover it up and then have just a blank space there. Layers upon layers upon layers. That's how you show depth. So now you can see this tree is definitely behind this one. And poor little Clyde there is gonna get covered up. Well, we can still see some of them behind there. It's okay. Like I said, we'll extend it to right about there. Okay, that's pretty good for that tree there. Yeah, Clyde's still poking his head out there. All right, and we'll have another big one right over here, right on the edge. Okay. Let's go right up here. Ooh, let's make him super tall. Let's go. Okay. Reload. Let's use side. There we go. Now sometimes you'll have to go through a mountain here, so you have a thick spot in your mountain to go through. You just have to like use more paint and squish it. Squish that paint on, smash it. Reload. See, now you see why I didn't bother highlighting those other trees, because I was like, they're gonna get covered up. Reload. And that tree's going off the edge of the canvas there, so do the same, paint off the canvas. You can even paint around the corner if you want. A little bit more, extend it down here. If you smash down the texture on these trees, it's going to be easier to highlight. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. So now we've got our trees up. It's going to wipe off fan brush there. We'll be using that for highlights in just a second, but before we do the highlights, add one little detail. And put some trunks in there. So for trunk, I'm just going to use a little bit of brown and white. I'll use the big knife. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of brown, a little bit of white, just like that. Mix it up, make it nice and marbledy, and then cut off a little roll. Try and make it even. There we go. A nice even roll of paint there. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to touch. So since it's loaded on this side, I'm going to hold it kind of like 45-degree angle like this, and I'm just going to just touch, 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 like that. And you don't want a solid line, you want it to be broken like that, because you're not going to be able to see the whole trunk when you're looking at a tree. So same thing here. Boop. There you go. See a little bit of it. And I'll go ahead and wipe that off. Be careful when you're wiping your knife off. Make sure you're using like multiple layers of paper towel there, because I've cut myself wiping the knife off before. Yes. Gone through some Band-Aids. Okay. So now we're gonna highlight these trees. So let's see. Let's see what color we want. Definitely want to go with some more yellow. Let's do some sap green. Some sap green and yellow. I think that's pretty good there. Don't want to get too light, because number one, we're going to put a little bit of liquid white in here to make it stick. And that's putting the liquid white in. Well, of course, we'll make it a little lighter. back to my fan brush there. I'm just going to dip a little bit, yep, just dip it into that little bit of that liquid white there. And then I'm just going to tap the liquid white into there. Just mix it in. But this is also how I want to load it. So see how I'm kind of like, I'm not going almost directly in, maybe handle pointed down towards the ground a little bit. But see how it's forming these little like hangy down branches? That's what you want to see. If you see it on here, you'll see it on there. So tap, 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 like that. And again, same thing. Start with the corner of the brush. You should just tap a little bit and it should come off just like that. If it's not coming off like that, you might have to add a little more liquid white or make more of your mixture. Sometimes people try to do this with like the tiniest amount of paint and you can't. With the highlights, you have to use a lot of paint and a little bit of the liquid white to get the right consistency. You want like a creamy kind of like mayonnaise consistency. And reload. Tap, tap. I usually try to concentrate like the lighter highlights towards the center of the painting. Again, trying to draw the viewer's eye towards the center. It's all about movement. A little more highlight. Okay, that's a nice tree there. And I'm just going to use the exact same color over here. You can alter the color if you want, change it up a bit. But I think I'm going to keep it just like that. Oh, I see that, and I'll tap a little bit of that dark green in there. Just to mix it up a little bit. I like to keep my evergreens a little on the darker side. Bob did too. You can see how I'm loading frequently here. See, I'm putting a little more highlight on this side also because I have that tree behind, so I want to make sure this tree is standing out and standing apart from the tree that's behind it, so the highlight will do that. And just like before, if your highlight is too strong, you can keep tapping on it and that will make it blend in more. Okay, I'm pretty happy with those trees. So all we have left, we just have to finish out the grass here. And then I'm gonna put a couple more bushes. So let's finish out the grass first, and then we can decide where we want to put our last couple bushes. So we have those two back here. Clyde got hidden there, so I'll have to put another. We'll have to put Clyde number 2. I don't know why. It seems Bob always named an orange bush Clyde, and I like to think maybe it was because of Pac-Man. I don't know. because the orange ghost is Clyde. I don't know. I don't know. But it's, maybe it had something to do with it. We don't know. We don't know. Okay, I'm going to go back to 1-inch brush to finish out the land here. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take my knife. This is the grass color we were using before. Ooh, there's a little hair in there. Ooh, there we go. I'm going to take that and mix it in with that color we just used. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. I like that. It's already got the liquid white in there, so it should have the right consistency, but if not, we can adjust it. Okay, I'm just loading it the same way here. Again, just kind of tapping in that grass. So you see how I'm tapping in like below that line there, and it's kind of like blending in to the darkness. Come in from the other side. But I'm tapping just very lightly here. It should just come off very easily. Oops, got a bright spot down there. I'll tap that out. I think some spots were a little too punchy, so I went back and tapped them out, blended them out a little bit. Okay, I think that's pretty good for our grass. I want to use the same brush, the 1-inch, for these last little bushes here. So we're going to do just like the bushes we did before, except we're going to use the darker base color. So bottom corner holding vertically like that. Decent amount of paint. And where do we want? I want one right here. So start from the base, work up. That's good. Do I want, I think that's pretty good. And let's see. You know what? I want it down here. I want it further down, so it's on a different plane than that tree. That's what I want. There we go. And it looks extended off the side there. That's fine. Okay, that's good. And then let's see. I'll put one right there. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Maybe And maybe extend it a little bit. All right. I'm gonna wipe off that brush there. Let's see. We can do what we did before. I'll take the bigger knife here. I'm just gonna scrape out a couple little lines here. There. And then all we have to do left is just highlight some bushes. So I'm just gonna wipe off as much as I can on this 1-inch brush. And let's see, I'm gonna grab a little bit of liquid white here. So some liquid white on the corner. I'm gonna tap that directly into my yellow. I'll put a little bit of ochre in there just to flavor it. Now, this is a really cool technique with the bushes. So what you can do, hold your brush perpendicular to your palette, and then you're gonna drag, pull up. Oh, you see it fly on my shirt there? But that's the force you wanna use. You can't do this. You have to drag, pull up, 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 drag, pull up. And then you see that cool texture. That's what you want. That's what you want. So as you're dragging and pulling up, it kind of rounds the corner there. So you want to flip that rounded corner to the top. And then again, highlight, rock around the clock. You're going to go, 12, 11, 1, so forth and so on. And I'm going to do another one over here that's a little more yellow ochre-y. There we go. A little more yellow ochre over here. And you can play around with colors. You can throw red in there, pink, purple, blue, whatever. Whatever you want. But it should just come off easy, just like that. If it's not coming off easy like that, then you have to adjust your consistency. And let's do one more that's kind of greenish here. Mix a couple different colors in there. All right. And you know what, maybe poor little Clyde back there. Maybe I will take a little of that yellow ochre, just tap it a little above that tree, just to kind of bring him back a little. Because I miss him. Throw a little green in there too. There. Okay. Clyde's back. Okay. I missed him. I had to bring him back. All right. So I think we are all set with that. I think that's a nice little one to get a lot of good practice on a lot of different things. Mountain, clouds with the 1-inch brush for sure. You get some good practice on that. And then your happy trees, your evergreen trees, and highlighting the the grass and the bushes. So you have some key some key elements in there. And then we also had like little crash down trees and a little mist in there too. So a lot of fun little things, but you know, you take these basic things and you rearrange them and make your own composition, and that's where the fun begins. You can make your make your own designs, and yeah, that's what I love. Or like I said, you know, change the season. I'll definitely want to do like a fall version of this, you know. You know me and my fall. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you'd like more tutorials, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell. That way you'll get notifications whenever my videos upload. So I upload tutorials like this, but then I also have live streams that I do on Twitch. So I have those as well. So yeah, I'm glad you had some time to hang out and paint with me today, and I'd love to see your versions too, and let me know what you did. If you changed your colors up, maybe you did some phthalo green instead of some sap green. That would be cool, give it a little more of a spring tone. Or if you did do a winter version, let me know. I'd love to see that, especially if it was like with that pretty green right there. So all right, thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye bye.